You know, most of the beef in the United States goes to feedlot. And so most cattle ranchers now, what we've done is we actually have a cow-calf operation. So what we do is we wean our calves when they're about 500 pounds, Levi. Then we take them, they're transported, sold to a feedlot. And a feedlot is just a way to finish off the cow. And what you're doing there is you're putting them in a somewhat of a confined space. And you, like you said, you're from the country. You've been out on a farm. You were raised on a farm. So you put all these animals somewhat in a confined space. It's not tight, but you see them in a yard. And the feedlot can be a couple of thousand to 50 to 100,000 cattle. And when you drive by it, you usually can smell it.
Mm-hmm.
So you get that many animals, ruminants. They're sitting there. They're standing in their defecation. They're peeing constantly. And what they do is you're just trying to fatten them up. And the whole process there, Levi, is if I can take that cow and get it up to 1,000 pounds in 14 months, that's a lower cost proposition. So the cow's on grass and on his mama's tit until he's about 500 pounds. The last 500 pounds he's putting in a feedlot, doesn't move a whole lot, and he's given food all the time to fatten him up. When they get to about 14 months total, 1,000 pounds, then you process them. With what we do, ours is a little bit longer process. We're on grass from the time that we wean it off the mom till the time that they're about 1,000 pounds. And that takes us about 22 to 26 months for us to get that good trim fat and the marbling that you want to give the steak and the meat the good taste. But the big difference is most feedlot beef, if you bought it, the fat on that feedlot beef, that steak, is about as white as my shirt. When you guys know this, I mean, you guys have been to the store. Eve, you bought, I saw you a couple of days ago. The fat is yellow. It's got a lot of beta carotene in it. And you can eat every bit of the fat off our steak.
So people, let's say people who don't live around you and they have to buy meat locally, what should they be asking their butcher? What should they be looking for? How should they find a good meat supplier?
Sure, great question, Eve. And, you know, you go to your butcher, and just a couple of things I would do. Number one is look at the meat and smell the meat. And another butcher, like he's trying to move the meat. He's probably not a rancher. He's bought it from somebody like me. So he's trying to move it. And so I would look at the color, number one. I would, if you can, see if you can smell it, because what they do is most meat that's not frozen, they inject with carbon monoxide to keep it real red. And so you kind of want to look at that to be sure there's not a sheen or the smell, but then ask them some questions. I would say, number one, hey, so are you buying this directly from a rancher? Or are you getting it from a meat processor? So, and if he says the meat processor, there's really about 5 to 6 really big ones. Ask him, is it JBS? Is it Tyson's? Which national beef? Ask him which one. If he says the ranch, which ranch? Also, too, is it imported or exported beef? Because if you can imagine, if you're bringing this beef in from another country, imagine all the touches to make that happen. And then if he does say it's from a ranch, well, could you tell me a little bit about the ranch? Do you know the rancher? Have you talked to him? Is it grass-fed, grass-finished? Is it feedlot beef? And so those are some really good questions. And I think you will really quickly understand that butcher if he's really behind the curtain getting to know the beef providers. And that's a really great question, a good thing to do.